Hey there, my Powerbook 3 fans. It's your girl Barbie J here with the recap and review of Raising Kanan Season 3, Episode 6, Into the Darkness. Now, we had another good episode here. I really thought this was a good episode. And I'm telling you, they never let us down with Raising Kanan. I'm telling you. But anyway, this episode started off with Rock getting home and Pernessa done followed her. I guess she's parked over there. I don't know how everybody in this show knows where everybody lives. They don't never have to look for it. This was back in what, the 80s or something. They turned to the yellow pages. Her name wasn't in it. You can't even find people that easily. So it was strange. But anyway, Pernessa's banging on the door when Rock gets there. Let me in, let me in. And I just want to talk to you. When Rock opened the door, Pernessa got a gun pointing at her. And of course, she's like, what did you do to Neek? You did it like you did the High Post. It was you, da-da-da-da. His shop was tore up and you took him and put him somewhere. You probably effed him because you wanted him to take him from me. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about, Pernessa. I don't know what you're talking about. And she basically said, you better be willing. You talking all that shit. You better be willing to, use that gun. And Rock busted her upside the head and took the gun from her and stuff. And then they sat and talked about it. And Pernessa's like, I don't understand. He's been missing for a week. He never do that. He always checks on his son, And so Rock asked her, what's Ronnie saying about it? She said, Ronnie ain't saying ish. He ain't never saying nothing. She was like, well, and she's staring at her, and Pernessa's like, no, Ronnie couldn't have. Ronnie loves Neek. He never used to let anybody hurt him, da-da-da-da. She said, people change. Brothers change. And Pernessa could not wrap her head around it being Ronnie. So Rock told her whoever did it is still out there. She said, you better keep your eyes open and your safety off the gun, because she had the safety on. Then we go over to the recording studio and we got Famous in there trying to lay down some tracks and his raps and stuff. And he just can't finish when he gets to a certain part. And Lou is looking at him asking, why are you stopping? And he's like, I don't know. I have to start. He said, that's because you confessing. He said, you confessing and you going to church in there, And he came out of the booth and they started talking. He lit a cigarette. His hands are shaking. And the truth is, Famous got some stuff on him in his system that he wanted to get off his chest. About killing that guy and knowing what, Rock did to Kanan. All that stuff was weighing on him. So basically, Lou told him to let the truth save him, And they realizing the more you say it out loud, the lighter it gets. And Famous is like, maybe I'll be able to sleep tonight. So now we at the precinct and we got these guys from the task force. They keep reaching out to Howard and picking his brain to see what information they could get from him and about the investigation, and they throw names around to him and he gives his 2 cents about it. So, Howard let him know that he said, we'd be glad when you're gone. He said, yeah, we haven't done our job till we wear out our welcome. And Howard told him, you were never welcomed here. But then Howard goes into the captain's office and talks to Captain and asks him about an opening in one of the officers is leaving and there's a position that's going to be open. So he's like, maybe I could take it. And the captain said, be careful what you ask for, because that position takes you around in a lot of different areas. He said, it'll even take you over there to the task force people. He said, well, maybe that's good because they already be asking me stuff all the time. Captain said, that is true. And he said, you could probably use a change of scenery after this stuff that happened with Burke. And he said, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So Captain said he'll make some calls and see what he could find out about that position for Detective Howard. So now we have the group Butter. They dancing in front of these music execs and they doing their thing and they finish up. And Marvin is in there with them. And Marvin's like clapping his hands and stuff. Oh, yeah. Talking about how great they were. You guys be dumb if y'all don't pick it. The only thing y'all need to know is who should be in front. My daughter should be in front, as lead, because she got better steps and sound better than all of them and stuff. And she's like, oh, my God. Juke is like, oh, my goodness. And she grabs him and said, get out. And she drags him out of the place and told him to get out before he effed this up for her. She's like, please. He said, I know what I see and I know what I'm talking about. She said, Dad, just go. Just go. She told him to go and kicked him out. So she goes back in and sits on the couch with Aisha. The music executives are finishing up with the lady in charge and they leave. But Aisha's hanging all over her. This is why Juke's getting the wrong message, because she's hanging on over her saying, you know, your dad is not wrong. He's right. You should be the lead. And she's rubbing on her and talking on her, you know, sending these signals that Juke is not understanding. Meanwhile, the other girl, Crystal, comes over and said, your daddy's a damn fool. And she's like, don't be talking about my family. And she's like, I talk about who I want. And Juke jump up like, I will F you up. I said, oh, here we go. But Aisha jumped in the middle and stopped them. And then the lady in charge came over and said, y'all better be fighting about them pitiful dance steps y'all were doing. And then she laid into the three of them, saying how none of them want to step up and be the lead. She said Crystal thinks she deserves it. Aisha don't think she's worthy of it. And Juke, she said, I don't know what about you. You know, do you want the position? Do you want it? You know, and she just laid into the three of them and said, y'all gonna be fighting with each other? Fight to be out front. Fight to be the best. And then she said, because as far as y'all concerned, that's the only fight that matter. I mean, she laid into them. So next we got this scene with Famous coming home. Kanan's on the phone yelling with somebody, arguing with somebody about his business. And he hangs up and Famous decides to get this off his chest, to get this truth off his chest and tell Kanan that he knows who put the gun in his bag. And Kanan's like, what? And he said, yeah, who was it? He said, it was your mom's. He said, what the F you just say? She said, your mom's put it in there. And he said, you ain't say nothing to me. And Famous started saying, she told me not to say nothing. And he said, look, I'm scared of your moms. Your moms are scary and stuff. He said, you know how hard this was to keep this to myself? He said, you my brother and I love you. That's what I'm telling you. He said, you ain't my damn brother. You know, hey, Kanan's being nasty. You ain't my brother. And he said, I'm scary too. And he told Famous, you got 5 minutes to pack your stuff and get out. So you throwing Famous out of his apartment. Look at what Kanan is turning into. Now we are starting to see how Kanan became who he is in the TV show Power. So now we see Pranessa coming home and she's finding Ronnie in there taking all of Unique's jewelry. And she's like, what are you doing, Ronnie? That's your brother's. That's not yours. That's your brother's. Stop. He's going to be looking for it when he comes back. Ronnie grabs her, looks at her, and throws her on the floor. And she scoots up against the dresser, scared. And I said, I bet you now she believed what Rock said about Ronnie. She didn't believe it before, but I know right now she's thinking he must have killed his brother. Now we switching over to Rock's house and the social worker is there. What's her name? Laura Walsh. And she could hear Rock and Kanan in there arguing. So she knocks on the door and they let her in and stuff. And, you know, Rock brushes it off as we loud talkers or something like that. So she asks to speak to Kanan by himself and takes him in a room. And then when they finish, then they come out there and they meet all together. And she told Rock what Kanan said. And Kanan played the game along with Rock. You know, he played the game. And one thing that Miss Walsh shared with Rock was that, you know, Kanan feels that sometimes she could be slightly overbearing. And she says she wished more of her parents were overbearing because these children need more supervision. So, you know, Kanan kind of rolled his eyes up in his head when she said that. But anyway, Miss Walsh also added that Kanan now knows how serious it is to bring a firearm to school. And Kanan said, my mother knows as well. I was like, oh my God. So they walked the lady to the door and left. But the lady said she gets a good feeling. Kanan, keep up the good work. And she left. And Kanan looked at his mother and said, I should have told her that you put the gat in my bag. She said, I know you don't understand it now. It's because I love you. He said, yeah, you always keep saying that. Put it on me like it's all about me and you love me. He said, I don't even think you know what love is. And she said, Kanan, you're going to get older and you're going to understand one day. He said, I don't know if I'll ever understand this ish. He said, I definitely don't understand you. And he said, this is probably the same stuff you did to Uncle Lou. She said, what happened between me and Uncle Lou are different. He said, no, I bet you he feel the same way as I do about you though. So now we over at Cafe Vu's and, you know, Marvin is feeling real bad about what he did. He think he messed it up for Juke, you know, and he's talking to the lady at the bar and he's also talking to Lou. And he's like, I'm just trying to get this father stuff right, you know, and be the best dad for my daughter. And you know what? I like this scene because Marvin is trying to change and is trying to do the right thing. And that was really cool. Now we got this scene with Kanan and the white guy, Paul, in the building. And Paul is like, Kanan, I don't have nobody to do my runs. This stuff keeps happening. This is not right. You said that you only needed a few of them, and now they all keep working for you. Kanan steps in and said, first of all, don't you ever come pushing up on me like that. I said, okay. Now he feeling himself. And then he goes with the, you ain't saying nothing when I put that extra money in your pocket and this, that, and the other. He's like, dude, I just need my bikers to do my runs and my errand stuff. And as they are going back and forth, you see off in the distance, Ronnie is watching this whole thing go down. And Paul is like, what if I go to the cops on it, and tell them what you're doing? And when he said that, he hit Kanan on the chest with his finger. And Kanan said, I don't think you want to talk to me like that, Paul. And Paul said, what you going to do? You going to beat me up? I'm a grown man. And Kanan said, I done seen a lot of grown men get put down by kids out here. I said, uh-oh. Paul better watch it. And like I said, Ronnie was watching this whole thing go down. So Kanan asked a couple of the bikers to do his runs for him. Then Ronnie walked up on him and told him he having a party at Olympic Palace and that he should come through. And Kanan's like, nah, I'm good. He said, nah, you going to want to be there. He said, the F I want to be there for? He said, because everybody want to be there. And he just stood there like that and walked away. So now we got a quick scene with Rock asking Detective Howard what he know about Unique. And he was like, I was going to ask you the same thing. He thought that Rock did something to him. And he's like, nah. He said, he asked Rock why she want to know. And she just saying, I just was asking because we haven't seen him or something like that. But she didn't tell him about Pernessa or that she was messing with him or anything like that. But Detective Howard said, yo, Unique got to be dead. He said, because what we saw there in that tailor shop with the bone fragments and the blood, Unique ain't coming home. He got to be dead. The Rock is like, what are y'all doing about it? He said, Neek ain't top on our list. But they both are realizing Neek gone and Dean gone. Cats are dropping out here. Something's going down. So he asked Rock, is she scared that she next or something? That's why you got me all around here? He said, no, it's a difference between being scared and being aware. She said, your partner was scared. I'm aware. I said, ooh, no, she didn't. And next we see Juke looking at the paper saying, congratulations, you qualified. I guess that's her going into the Army Reserves or something. And then Marvin comes in and she hides the paper under her leg. And he's asking her what she got going on today. And then he apologizes to her for his behavior the other day. And she apologized for yelling at him the way she did. And he said, I'm just so proud and stuff of you. And I can't help it, And she told him he could be possibly right. She could possibly be the leader of the group. He said, see, I know these ears know just what they're hearing and stuff. But he tells her, I'm just trying to get this right. I'm trying to get this right on how to be your father. I need your help. She said, you want me to tell you how to be my father? And he said, you know what? Now that you say it and I hear it out loud, it sounds kind of dumb, huh? And she said, I got to go. And she leaves for school. Then we got this quick scene with Rock showing up at Cafe Vue's to talk to Lou. And he's like, why are you here, Rock? And she's like, I just came to apologize for not making it here to your grand opening. And he's like, whatever. He said, you going to take this from under me too? And she said, I'm not here to take. I'm here to give love, support, and respect and all this stuff. And they go back and forth and he's getting mad at her because she turned him into somebody he didn't want to be. And she's like, oh, you got bodies on you and that's on you. You's a grown man now. He said, I was your little brother and I followed you everywhere you went. She said, well, I'm here now. And he's like, you know what? I'm going back to work. He didn't want to have nothing to do with her. And he said, told her to see herself out. And as she left, he sat down at the table and he started drinking again. I said, nah, I didn't think that back and forth between them would have caused him to start drinking again, but it did. Now, this next scene was strange. Marvin is out in the park with Gerald and his two daughters, and they're talking about what their kids are going to be like as teenagers. And some white guy comes up to him and said, yo, what's up, my man? And Marvin's looking at him like, I don't know you. And he's like, me. I walked in on you and Tony like 100 times. And he's like, I don't know you. He keeps saying he doesn't know him. That's what Marvin's saying. And the guy's like, yeah, you know me, Tony Deep. Y'all was together. And he said, I told you, I don't effing know you. Now you need to walk. And the guy's like, okay. And he went and got his kids and walked away. I'm not sure why the reason Marvin doesn't want to acknowledge him, except for the fact that he had Tony killed. I wonder. But I do like the way he played it off and said, brothers all look the same to these white boys. I said, oh, snap. That was a good one. And he basically right about that. But y'all put it down in the comment section what y'all thought about that scene. Now we got Kanan, Aisha, and Juke showing up to that party that Ronnie's giving. And they in there, I mean, the place is packed, the music is jamming and stuff. And Ronnie was right there to meet him. Oh, you came through. Then he introduced him to Shay and the other lady. I forgot who the other lady is. The ones who were lending him money, investing part of the money into him. So he introduces them to them. They already know who he is. It seems that he knows who they are. And Juke is just assessing the place like, who are these people? You know, what kind of party is this? And then she asked him in the elevator while, Kanan trying to be cool around Aisha and stuff. She said, where's Famous? He's like, I don't F with Famous no more. She's like, word, what happened? So he ignored her and left out the elevator. Then she asked him again while they were in the party. And he's like, look, we had a party. Anybody want to talk about that? So they dancing and everything. Aisha and Kanan are dancing. Juke is at the bar watching and looking around. She finally said, okay, it's time to go. She interrupts them dancing. And Aisha kind of like is rolling her eyes and stuff like she don't want to go. She said, we got a rehearsal in the morning, so we got to get up early and stuff. And Aisha, girl, you the main one that needs help with your steps, so you shouldn't have been rolling nothing but your butt out the door. So Kanan's like, Dad, we just got here and stuff, but I used to say, yeah, she's right. We do have to go. And she's like, Kanan, you going too? Because she was telling Kanan to stay. And he was like, no, you got to go too. And Kanan's like, fine, we'll go. And Ronnie rolled right up there and said, you leaving? They want to meet you. Want to introduce you to some people or something like that. And she's like, he don't need to be, this is Juke saying, he don't need to be meeting no thugsters. And he's like, they ain't thugsters. And Juke started pointing out, there's such and such and such over there. There's such and such over there. There's such and such over there. They all thugsters. They're all in the game. Ronnie said, you want to meet some people or not? So Kanan said, I'll catch up with y'all later. And Juke pulls him back and said, Rock wouldn't want you here. He said, I don't give a F what Rock want. And she looked at him like, damn, really? It's like that? So as she's leaving, Jukebox looks back and she sees Kanan being introduced to a couple of those thugs that she pointed out and stuff. And she's like, wow, I know in her head that's what she's saying, because now she's seeing my cousin Kanan is changing. He has no respect for his mother nor for his best friend Famous. And that's why your girl Aisha don't need to be dealing with him at all. Then we see Rock at that strip mall that she purchased and it's leaking. They need to call a plumber. All this mess is going on. Those police officers drive by because, they're responsible for it. And Marvin's like, what's going on, And she's like, I don't know why I'm pretending to be this person. I'm up here trying to get out of it and get out of the business and go the straight way. Nobody believed that I'm doing it, but I had to do it because it was a desperate time, call for desperate measures. And when the Italians came through, it was a whole big thing. So she said, who am I trying to fool? I ain't nobody's landlord. She said, I know what I'm good at, and I'm good at moving weight. And next thing you know, she's at the fish store, seeing the Italian guy. Y'all know Tony Danza. I can't remember his name right now. She's there with Marvin, and he's like, oh, hold up. Is this the mailman? He calls Marvin the mailman. Special delivery. Because remember, he dressed like a mailman and killed that Italian dude. So anyway, they're going out in the back, and they start talking. And Rock, he said, I'm sorry to hear about your friend, Unique. I found out from my contacts in the precinct that he died or something like that. And Rock let him know why she's there now, which is to take over where Unique started. And he said, wow, his body hasn't even been found and you want to take over. And she said he would do the same thing. So he said, I'm not sure, because 1 minute you're in, 1 minute you're out. So I'm hesitant. And then Marvin heard this and walked up to him and said, you wasn't hesitant when you wanted to have your boy taken out. And he said, wow, the mailman delivers again. So he and Rock shook on it. And he said, let me make it clear to you. You're in now. There's only one way out. And I'm assuming he's talking about by death. Now, a quick scene back at the party. All of the little gangsters and thugsters are taking a group picture. And Kanan was sitting along the side. And that guy, Shay, or whatever his name, calls him to get in. He said, nah, I'm good. And then Ronnie said, get in, you belong. And Kanan got up in there and stood there with all these thugsters. So he felt powerful. He felt like he was the man, I'm sure. And they took that picture. And I said, oh, snap. This is it. This is where it begins. And now we got a scene at the precinct. And that guy who's the head of the task force is asking Detective Howard about somebody new that he saw. And he said, oh, he's a local guy or whatever. And he feeling that he might be attached to some of this thing with some killing with some lady upstate, remember the girl Tony and all of that. So all of that is coming to a head, and it's a picture of Marvin. So I don't know what's going to go on. And then I think the last scene is we got Lulu in his studio drinking and still getting messed up, and he turns around and he could see Scrappy. It looks like Scrappy's over there playing video games, and he's like, what? And then he turns his head and turns back, and Scrappy's gone. So I don't know, somebody told me in another episode that he saw Scrappy and D-Wiz when he was drunk. So put it down in the comment section if y'all remember that. I don't remember anything like that. But anyway, Lou takes his drunken self, drives over to this lady's house, and sits up in there and starts doing this confession about how he's responsible for her son's death because he didn't even stop the person from doing it. He was standing right there, so he's just as responsible. And it was Scrappy's mother. And remember, Scrappy's mother used to have those card games downstairs in her basement, and she was like a snitch for them. And she was working for the police, would tell them what was going on in the community. So who knows what's going to happen now. And the last thing was Kanan was sleeping in the apartment, and somebody's knocking on the door, and he's like, "You're Famous, get the door." He forgot he kicked Famous out of his own apartment. And guess who it was? It was Ronnie with a bag full of drugs. I don't know if that's coke or heroin or what. And he said, "It's time to go to work, Igga," and slapped the bag up against Kanan's chest. I said, oh my goodness, this is wild. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel as of yet, please take a moment right now, hit that subscribe button, then hit the like button, write a comment, and share. It's your girl Barbie J saying, I'll see you all in the next video. Write it down in the comment section what you thought about this episode. Peace.